Smells of days gone by. Unexplained awakenings. Visions of people who have been dead for decades. The stories of hauntings in Oklahoma go back to before statehood, but to find the most haunted.
So I've written 8 books now.
We enlisted the help of author Jeff Provine.
Which is a tough gig. There's so much awesome stories to be told here in Oklahoma. We're going to start at number 9, probably one of the most historical and famous stories, the Spook Light. So up in the northeast part of the state, you go out on this country road and you see this glowing light, and some people described it as big as a beach ball, some say it's just a little spot, and red and green and blue and all kinds of different colors. Number 8, one of my favorite haunted sites, Fort Washita.
The former U.S. military post built in 1842. War reenactors frequent the fort, often getting more of a history lesson than they bargained for. That includes 2 who were near this bridge when they saw a person holding a lantern.
They said the closer that the light got, the more they realized it was a woman. And then as she got a little closer, they realized she had no feet or head.
Aunt Jane, a headless ghost who is known to walk around this part of the fort, is the most well-known, but there are plenty of others. A security guard once noticed some soldiers on horseback.
They rode right by him. He looked at him. He waved at them. They just kept riding, and they went right through the fence and right over the road.
Multiple reenactors have spotted an officer on the front porch of the barracks, watching the sun go down.
And as the sun went down, then the officers disappeared.
But the Bohannon cabin is said to be the most haunted.
Whatever it is, don't like women. From a lot of the reenactors that stayed in it have had their clothing moved, reshuffled, in some cases torn up.
Doors slam, windows rattle. A woman is sometimes seen sitting at this table.
We've had the digital recorders left in here overnight and babies crying.
Jim Argo, the longtime site manager, says even those who don't know the haunted history of the cabin have felt it.
They can't breathe. They get a closed-in feeling where they can't stay in there.
The fort's ghost tour is a popular one. Argo says folks almost always see something or catch it on camera.
I've seen pictures where mist had the shape of a little girl praying at a grave. I've seen mist that looked like soldiers in line down at the Confederate Cemetery.
But as quickly as those ghosts disappear, so do the tickets. They sell out in a day or 2. Number 7 is Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa, where the music doesn't die, even though the performers have.
But my favorite story about it is that famous country musician Bob Wills still shows up. He, of course, famously played there all the time through the 20th century. And he's still going on tour time and time again. And they recognize him because it's his hat and his outfit, like that's what he wore.
Number 6, Kendall's Restaurant in Noble, and the woman in black who cooks up mischief in the back room. Elected to our number 5 position, the Governor's Mansion in Oklahoma City.
Governor Alfalfa Bill Murray from the 1920s and 30s likes to hang out there to this day, they say.
Number 4 is the 45th Infantry Museum. The memorabilia on display here aren't the only relics greeting visitors.
The guy wearing the World War I uniform, he was standing out there in the front, and we tried to chat with him, but he just stared and stared, and so we went on. And he said, well, we don't have any reenactors. And so he went to go check, and nothing there.
An abandoned government experiment. Members of Oklahoma City elite entertaining long after they died. Things will get even spookier tomorrow night. A U.S. fort haunted by a headless ghost. A deceased governor who won't leave the mansion. A mysterious light at the end of a county road. We have traveled the state hunting for the most haunted spots. And tonight, things get even creepier as we conclude our countdown. At number 3, the Parallel Forest, a failed government experiment in the Wichita Mountains.
It's supposed to be haunted by these ghostly lights that people will see and try to follow and so forth and get lost over and over again.
Our number 2, an Oklahoma mansion so grand, the former owners just don't seem to want to leave. Henry Overholser, often considered the father of Oklahoma City. His wife Anna and young daughter Henry Ione lived in the mansion in the early 1900s, and many say still haunted today.
Workers from the state have told me they've seen somebody in here, and I take it that was Mrs. Overholser. This is one of her favorite rooms.
Lisa Escalon, the museum manager, began working at the historical home back in 1993.
I just saw the curtain open and shut.
And now, she's on a first-name basis with many of the ghosts.
I've heard my name called many times. It's a woman, and I attribute that to Mrs. Overholser.
Mrs. Overholser can often be seen looking out the window of the third-floor turned room, but a slight smell of tobacco or the sound of whistling is often attributed to Mr. Overholser. Even reports of girlish pranks.
All of a sudden I hear this girl say, "Hi."
And a small footprint that mysteriously appeared in the dust this past winter seemed to be signs that a young Henry Ione is here as well. But a paranormal investigator suggests many of the family's guests may have also returned to live out eternity here.
They've picked up, I would say, dozens and dozens of different types of activity in the home, from small children to full-grown adults.
Pictures taken over the years show orbs and mysterious images throughout the house.
And the number 1 top haunted site in Oklahoma, I like to say, is pretty much all of Guthrie, the whole town.
Does that sound right to you?
Yes, it does.
Stacy Frazier is the founder of the Guthrie Ghost Walk that now attracts about 1,000 people and countless ghosts a year.
It's the fact that the story becomes not only possible but plausible that really seems to draw people in.
Stacy says she has about 62 stories. Ivan the barber is a popular one. When alive, he had the habit of pinching young ladies.
Even today, it'll be the guys that are walking down the steps that occasionally will talk about feeling like somebody's pushed them, and it'll be the ladies coming up the step to feel like they've been pinched.
Then there's the Stone Lion Inn, which used to be a mortuary.
Tomorrow morning, coffee will be on the embalming table at 7:30.
Now a bed and breakfast and the site of many unexplained phenomenon, including voices, furniture moving, doors slamming.
There is a cat, and it comes trotting down the stairs, and it turns here, goes across here, comes here, and goes underneath these, and it just disappears. And then we don't see it anymore.
The ghost of 7-year-old Irene seems to generate the most attention.
People who sleep in that room, the Core Dial Suite, often experience a little child coming into the room between 2 and 2:30 in the morning, and she pats them on the cheek to get them to come awake. But when they come awake, there's nobody there. This happened time and time again.
The Stone Lion Inn, the Guthrie Ghost Walk, and many of the other locations we mentioned offer opportunities to get up close and personal with the ghosts, if you dare. Dana Hurtnicki, Oklahoma's Own News 9.